Hi, I'm Mario Martinez Jr., CEO and founder of Vengreso, and welcome to this YouTube channel. Now, in this particular episode that you're going to watch, it is a clip taken from one of our live trainings that I personally delivered to our exclusive customer community, where we're teaching and training on the perfect sales prospecting message. And I break down the three segments of the perfect sales prospecting message. Number one, how to personalize. And number two, how to bring value. And number three, the call to action. Watch very closely so that you can get that inside view directly into how we teach, but more specifically, take some tips on how to develop the perfect sales prospecting message. Enjoy! We're going to show you the best way, and then we're going to show you an acceptable way. Now, the reason why we're going to show you the best way and the acceptable way is because the best way requires more hyper-focused time. More hyper-focused time. So let's talk about the best way. You heard me say this earlier. Hyper-personalized messaging. Hyper-personalized messaging. Number two, the best message is about 111 words to state the pain, add value, and include a call to action. Now that's tough. That requires some real serious thought right there into how you're going to create a message that's only 111 words. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty darn wordy, guys. And as a direct result of that, it's really hard to get down to 111 words. Why is it 111 words? Well, the studies show that 111 words is the length of a message before an adult usually stops reading. 111 words. And it includes a CTA. So the best type of message, the anatomy of a best message, is hyper-personalized, about 111 words, and includes a CTA. Now, what if you don't have that much time to put that much energy into one specific message per individual outreach? All right, let me show you an acceptable method. So the acceptable method basically says you can personalize, the message is personalized to the buyer persona. You may not have a lot of details about that individual buyer, but you sure in the heck know that if you call on VPs of sales, VPs of facilities, whatever you may be calling on, business owners, whoever, you understand that overarching, overall, there is a theme across all of these buyers of a service or product that you solve. And a theme of pain, excuse me. So you want to be talking to that pain. So it's personalized to the buyer persona. In addition, here's where we usually fall into play. In fact, most of our scripts that you have downloaded or accessed inside of our playbooks, whether you're a selling with video customer, you're a selling with LinkedIn customer, most of our scripts are somewhere between 112 and 200 words. So the acceptable amount of time is 112 to 200. That's really tough. But even in our own organization, I'm constantly saying to everybody, stop, don't send that message out. It's longer than 200 words. And what I like to see is a sweet spot, 180. Sweet spot, 180. That's what I like to see for my personal messages that we send out for to all of you guys. So that having been said, you want to make sure that if you can't get it to 111 words, don't worry, the sky didn't fall. But make sure you get it under 200 words with a focus at 180. All right. And of course, an acceptable message includes a CTA. Now, there's this thing right in the middle that's been staring at you. It says 40 seconds. 40 seconds is the average adult attention span for a digital task. 40 seconds, the average adult attention span for a digital task. So if my digital task is read a message, I've got 40 seconds. If it's read a email, I've got 40 seconds, up to 40 seconds. So think about that when you're writing your message. Last night, I wrote a message. I sent it to myself, and I looked at it on my mobile device. What I wanted to see was it a one-touch scroll? One-touch scroll. That's generally a good rule of thumb, one-touch scroll. And then I said, how long does it take me to read it? Because as an executive, a CEO, as you can imagine, I get many, many emails. In fact, I've got 1,268 emails in my box right now that I can't get to. So I've got a very short attention span that sellers have to be able to capture my attention. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about writing a message. This applies to social and this applies to email. Now, sometimes people ask me on social, especially when you're doing a social engagement, not a LinkedIn message, not an email, but a social engagement. Do these rules apply? The answer is no. These rules do not necessarily apply. Social engagement is going to be quick snippets, get that person engaged, and move that conversation from online to offline. So this anatomy of a great message really applies to a LinkedIn message, a LinkedIn email, or an email as an example. So that's what we're talking about here. Let's take a look at an acceptable message, okay? An acceptable message. Now, some of you have seen this. In fact, if you're on our Selling with Video program, you've seen this almost in its entirety. If you're in our Selling with LinkedIn program, you've also seen this, and you've also been able to download these things inside of our Selling with LinkedIn training program. And if you're one of our corporate teams customers, you also have received our giant 28-page playbook that has all of this in Word version as well. So I'm going to break this down for you and reinforce what it is that we've spent some time talking to team teaching you about. So an acceptable message. First off, you would say, hi, John, hi, Susie, hi, Billy. Now, I always use the word hey. There is hello, John, hi, John, hey, John. That is the difference between formal friend and best friend, is that greeting. Formal, friend, and best friend. The default message that I always use is best friend voice, just as an FYI, no matter the occasion. So that's me personally. That's if you were to engage with me, you would see bro, absolutely, awesome. You would see all that. That's just my style. Now, most sellers are afraid to go to the best friend style of communication right out of the gate. I would encourage you to try it. Try it. But if you are too afraid, the default, minimum default that you should ever go to is hi. Never do hello, dear John. Hello, John. That's too formal. Dear John, way too formal. Hi, John. Hey, John. That's what you want to be thinking about. So here we have a message that says the majority of, and into your buyer persona. So the majority of sales leaders that I speak to have two common problems that they're trying to solve. Number one, they're looking to start more sales conversations. And number two, they need to increase their pipeline, especially during COVID-19. Okay, now this message, is it hyper-personalized or personalized to the buyer persona? To the persona. This is definitely targeting the persona. So this is what I talked about, the minimum baseline, the acceptable message, okay, that we just went through. So right out of the gate, as a leader, I open this message, I look at this, and I have a greeting. You've at least greeted me by my name. I know that you're talking to me as a VP of sales, and then specifically you go right into the problem that you solve, okay? Or common problems that VPs of sales are trying to solve. Inevitably, if these problems are my problems, I'm going to say, I will read on. I'll keep going. If I don't have these problems, then I'm not going to continue reading. I may not even engage. I may not even want to respond to you. And in that case, it's not a sure sign that you can't help this particular buyer. You just may not be able to help them right now. And frankly, as a seller, as a selling CEO, which by the way, I still do deals to this day, even though I've got a chief sales officer, two sales directors, couple market development managers. I love selling. I love it. And they want me to get out of selling, but I don't want to. So that having been said, if Kurt Shaver's listening in, I don't want to. But with that in mind, this is something that is very near and dear to my heart and something that I use all the time. Start with that pain. If you can hit that pain, then great. But if they don't have that pain, do you even as a seller want to be talking to them? If your solution solves a specific pain point or points and they don't have that problem to solve, are you going to sell anything? No, heck no, you won't. So now we go on to the next phase. So I've said, yes, I want to start more sales conversations as a salesperson or as a sales leader. And yes, I want to fill up my pipeline. Okay, now we go into the V for value. Directly below are two resources which have helped your peers address these problems. The first is, and you can see in highlighted in yellow, this is areas that you can change, a blog article that answers the question and you can put it inside there. For example, we have a targeted campaign for companies who have purchased LinkedIn Sales Navigator. We know that LinkedIn does a horrible job at training their corporate customers. All they teach them is where to click and how to click. Okay, where to click and how to click, but it does not teach the seller skills. For example, you'll never see LinkedIn show you the anatomy of a great message on how to construct your in-mail or LinkedIn message. That's what you get from Vengreso. So we have a great article. It says the blog article that answers the question, in my case, are you wasting money on LinkedIn Sales Navigator? Now that's attractive, especially if I have that solution. The second is a 3-minute long video or a webinar, which addresses and you insert the business buyer's challenge, right? Or showcases how you can use this as a client, how one of our clients was able to drive over $1 million during COVID-19, during the 3-month training that we helped them into sales pipeline. Now that's attractive. So this is the type of content that you want to bring into play. This is called value. Bring the value. You've got content that matches the claim, and you've got content that's going to help the buyer see what other clients might have said, or video material that will help lead them down the right particular path if they have those problems above. Now we go on to the C. So this is the first part. I had to put this on 2 pages, so bear with me. So here we have a call to action, which is a 30-minute meeting. Now, the reason why I showed the 30-minute meeting is because most of you want to drive to a meeting. Of course, all of us want to drive to a meeting, but this can be changed. Absolutely. This one sentence can be changed to be a question like, are the 2 problems I mentioned above something that you're challenged with? That's it. That could be the message. What you're looking for someone to say is yes or no. And if they say yes, guess what? You might just have a hot one. So this particular script right here showcases a 30-minute meeting. Now, I have a very particular philosophy about the 15-minute meeting. You heard me say it earlier. I think it is absolutely stupid to ask for a 15-minute meeting if it's a brand new prospect. Now, in some cases, if you're engaged with a prospect, a 15-minute meeting may solve all problems, right? That's all you need to be able to clarify something that's going on. But when you're trying to get in front of that prospect, generally speaking, unless you're selling a widget or a very commodity-based solution, you're going to need more time to build that rapport and understand the pain, the problem, and what they've done to solve it and all those other types of things to be able to understand if you can help address that particular problem. So you'll note here that I always lead with the 30-minute solution. Now, of course, there are exceptions to every rule. But generally speaking, I do believe that 30 minutes is where you should go. So may I suggest a 30-minute meeting where I can share additional insights on how other companies are solving these problems. And if you're working in super large accounts and you know that competition is one of your customers or has purchased a solution like this, you could also lead with share additional insights on what your competitors are doing to solve these problems. And most executives love to know what the competition is doing. So that's another way you can tweak that particular sentence right there. Now we go on to the next section, which is I'm available on. So most people say, hey, I've got my 30-minute meeting. Can you tell me what dates and time work for you? Listen, I'm going to tell you right now that any salesperson that says to me, tell me what date and time works best for you, I'm not going to go look in my look for the needle in the haystack on my schedule. My schedule is way booked up, generally now almost 3 weeks out. So when you're working with an executive, small business owner or large enterprise, doesn't matter. Give them the courtesy of saying, I'm available on, and insert a date 2 weeks out at 9 o'clock, 3 weeks out at 1 o'clock, and 4 weeks out at 4 o'clock. Now, what is unique about 2, 3, 4 weeks, 9, 1, and 4? As an executive, I just got through telling you that my schedule is generally blocked out for certain 2 weeks, but now moving on into the 3 weeks. So we want to be cognizant of the fact that we're dealing with executives. And as an executive, we want to minimize them saying no to a meeting. No, I don't have time if you're sending me a message on Thursday tomorrow to meet. No, that's ridiculous. If you're sending me a message on Monday, no, I don't have time this week to meet with you. No, I'm busy. I mean, let's think about that, guys. Most executives are booked out at least 2 to 3 weeks. So with that in mind, work according to the schedule. And with that said, you put a date out 2 weeks at morning, 3 weeks in the afternoon, 4 weeks in the late afternoon. Because what you're trying to gauge is what's a good time for this executive? Do they like morning meetings, afternoon, or evening meetings? I love vendor meetings after 3 o'clock. All the East Coast sales reps are really, really torn because I say I can meet at 4 o'clock with them. And that's 7 o'clock their time. So the challenge is that if people are selling to me, they'll understand that I only want to talk after 4 o'clock. Why? Because I'm spending time with sales in the morning, and then I'm spending time with marketing in the afternoon and our customer success organization. That's where I'm devoting my time, and anything else I'm doing as the CEO of the company, right? So afterwards, in the evening is my best time to meet with vendors. You'll know that if you give them these types of options. Very important. Now, someone asked about calendar links. The answer is yes, you can do it, but do it like this. Here we go. Bada bing, bada boom. Now, if for some reason you put those 3 dates out there, especially if you're calling on someone 40 and older who's grown up around the concept of salespeople have got to work, right? For this meeting, a lot of young millennial and the Gen Z are taking this and they're striking this whole section right here. And they're leading with, here's my calendar link, go ahead and book an appointment. I can tell you with a certainty, in the last 3 years as CEO of Vengreso, any seller, and by the way, I'm a modern sales evangelist, a digital sales evangelist, mind you. Any seller who's led with, I'm going to reach out to you and throw you my calendar link, no, I'm not taking a meeting. Do some work. That's the way I think. I grew up 22 years having to do work for the meeting, right? But I will say this, these times and dates may not work. And as an executive, I might look at my schedule and say, no for those 3 times. But you know what? Let me just hit the easy button. I'll fill in the gap with the meeting link. And by the way, for those of you who have a meeting link, you'll notice that mine is scheduleacallwithmario.com. Go out and buy right now on GoDaddy or whatever domain provider you want to buy. Go out and buy, book a meeting with Jordan, schedule a call with Bob, right? So you figure out what the right domain is, buy it, and let it link up to wherever it is you're sending them to. Calendly, TimeTrade, HubSpot, you name it. There's many of them that are out there. So here's the anatomy of a perfect message, both the P, the V, and the C. And you close with, let me know which option works best for you. I look forward to speaking. And you end it with, thanks, Sally. Thanks, Billy. Thanks, Mary. And you want to make sure that they know that this is a hyper-personalized message, even though this was a persona-based script.